Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Georgiman and I'm your friendly neighborhood anime and manga fan. I love all things anime and all things manga, and I'm here today to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 22. So, what did I think about the second to last episode of Season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen? I thought this episode was very shocking. I thought it was a great episode for anime onlys, where we pretty much get a huge bunch of revelations, a lot of cool action sequences, as well as some confirmation for some questions and theories that people had been, having ever since earlier in Season 2. Now, before I go any further with this week's episode, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder to make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys can be up to date with all my Jujutsu Kaisen, as well as all my anime and manga content that I'll be providing in this channel. It really helps out a lot, and I would really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you guys could, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into this week's episode. So this week's episode starts off where we pick up with a different set of characters. We catch up with Kozakabe and Panda, and we see that pretty much, Kozakabe is knocked out because, obviously the Sukuna and the explosion with Jogo and all that. And we see that Gorilla finds him, aka Panda, and he starts talking like, hey, like, we should join up with Juji and them. And Kozakabe's like, yeah, now that Gojo's sealed, and like, I'm not gonna vouch for that guy. Like, I thought he was in control of Sukuna's vessel, but I guess he's not in control of Sukuna at all. So I'm for killing Juji. So right off the bat, Kozakabe is not a fan of Juji, which makes sense. I mean, you see the destruction of Shibuya, you can't really blame the dude. I mean, yeah, like, you see it, like, it was just like a nuke dropped. So it's totally understandable why Kozakabe would be hesitant to even join Juji. And then we soon after that, we catch up with Mei, and oh my goodness, my girl Mei, woof, Gege, I know what you were doing. Mappa, I know for sure Mappa was waiting for this scene, because they've been giving my girl Mei them angles all this season, and this girl, this angle that they gave her in the bed, oof, all I gotta say is I wish I was you, wee. All right, that's all I'll say. But we see that pretty much we catch up with her. She dipped. We find out that I guess she's in Malaysia. Geto pretty much, or Kenjaku, let her escape, and we see that pretty much she used her brother's ability, because I guess it's some teleportation or some sort of that, and they were able to escape safely. So they weren't in Shibuya, they're safe. And we see that pretty much she's like, all about her bread. She's all about the money. She's making, selling her stocks. She's advising somebody on the phone like, yeah, you might want to sell all your stocks, because Japan is the third largest economy in the world, and it just kind of collapses because of Shibuya. And yeah, that's pretty much where we catch up. She's talking about that bread. Now, we don't know who she's talking about, or in the phone, we don't know who she's talking to. So I'm very interested in seeing which character would be, and I'm sure a lot of you people are as well. So something to keep your eye open, something to keep your eyes open to see. Now, continuing from that, we see that we catch up with Kenjaku, and we see what's his name, Mahito. I'm sorry, I forgot. And we see that pretty much, it's where we catch up where, Geto / Kenjaku is like talking to Mahito, and Juji's trying to like, no, I'm not gonna let you escape. And we see that, he, captures Mahito's soul, and you see Mahito at one point even try to fight back and attack Geto's like Kenjaku, and we see that, he easily dodges it, and he starts absorbing him. And right before he gets absorbed, Mahito says, I knew you would betray me from the very get-go, because I know how humans work, And it was sad to see the GOAT Mahito go out, but hey, he had a good run. They don't make villains like Mahito like in Shonen period, so he was built different. He had a great legacy. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. All right, love this guy. I know everybody hates him. I think he's a phenomenal villain. All right, I'm a sucker for good villains, and he's fantastic at that. So rip to the homie. And we see pretty much after that, Kenjaku starts explaining like, the whole sequence where Juji tries to, stop him for a sec, and Kenjaku uses some of these curses to attack Juji and restrain him. And then we cut to pretty much him after he absorbs Mahito, and he explains to Juji like, the reason I can absorb all these curses because of Geto's ability, his body. And he explains it how he wanted a body manipulation, like the whole Mahito curse, he wanted it to evolve, and the reason he wanted to see how farther it could go is once he reached a grade 1 or special grade. And now that if Mahito reaches potential, like where it's the peak of his ability, I guess, at this moment at least. We see that he didn't have any more use for him, so he dispatched it and used it for this ability called Uzumaki, which is like a sphere where we see that pretty much he can use this curse's ability once, but it's compacted in a ball and he can only use it once at a time. And pretty much what we see is that he's explaining this to Juji, and then out of nowhere, you know, we see the students from Kyoto show up, and they start just, you know, bombarding you know, Kenjaku with all these attacks, and we see that he's like dodging and weaving everything, and he's like, they're not putting any work, all right. I'm sorry, the Kyoto students, you know, they think they're them. They're not them. They're just mid, all right. They're so mid. And we see that even Mia, you know, she gets some love. You know, Mia's like, you know what, I wasn't, you know, I was just like not the greatest at anything. Like I was you know, just good at basketball, which, yeah, she can hoop, so that's cool. Just cool to know. But we see that she was just saying like, yeah, my mom would dye my hair black. You know, eventually I became, I guess, a sorcerer just because of it, and you know, I picked up the sword, got good at it. So I'm gonna use, you know, she uses her simple domain. It's their shadow style, you know, and she proceeds to want to cut down Kenjaku. She uses like all her strength into it, and my man just blocks it with one hand. Like he was trying to be Aizen. He did this little Aizen with, you know, stopping Ichigo with one. Like it was hilarious. And we see that he's like literally about to kill her because he unleashes the Uzumaki, which is the body configuration. At least it seems like he did. Or he used something he just used a big curse thing. I don't know if it was Uzumaki or not. I kind of forget. But we see that he uses it, and you know, it's about to like pretty much kill Mia. But then who steps up to save, you know, the day? Kuzukabe shows up, and he saves pretty much all the students. You know, he gets them out of there with his simple domain, his shadow style. And you know, they're all there. You know, the Kyoto students are there. And we see that pretty much soon after we catch up with Chozo, and Chozo is like, my man is in shambles, because earlier in the episode, you know, we catch up a little bit with him. You know, he's kind of, you know, still shocked about fighting Juji, and we don't know exactly why, but right now everything kind of comes together. And it was, you know, a lot of people were theorizing like, is he Juji's brother? And this week's episode pretty much confirms that, where we see that, you know, he starts talking about that he's able to pick up on his relative's blood, and when he fought Juji, he failed his sibling's blood in him. So it's canon, Juji is, you know, Chozo's brother, at least from what he thinks. And you know, I can't wait to see for you guys where this goes going forward, you know, now that Chozo and Juji are confirmed to be brothers and why not. And we find that, you know, Kenjaku's his dad, and you know, and we also, like, pretty much everybody finds out who Kenjaku is, in a sense, where they say like, yeah, you inhabited the body of the worst sorcerer of all, like the most evil sorcerer or something along those lines, like a evil family. And he was like, oh, I mean, yeah, that was one of my previous lives, but I wouldn't say that's me. And then you see everybody kind of shocked, like, what is he talking about? And we see Chozo fight him for a bit, and you know, Chozo's being outclassed. Like, he's not even, you know, Kenjaku's not even trying. Like, you can just tell. And no matter how hard he tries, you know, he's not getting any hits in. And eventually, what it comes down to is we see that, you know, Kenjaku's kind of like getting fed up with it, and we see that the students are trying to like jump Kenjaku as well. So they all jump into the action, and we see that pretty much, I forget the ice, the one that's always the one that's always next to Geto and stuff, the one with the white hair, whatever. He uses an ice technique, and he freezes everybody. And we see that, and like, it's a super advanced curse technique, and we see that pretty much everybody gets frozen, and you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen? And eventually Juji breaks out of it, because we know that Juji's built different. And we see pretty much that, you know, he breaks out Chozo, and Chozo's like, hey, call me brother. And it's a funny little exchange where we see the two of them like kind of confused, like, what are you going on? And we see pretty much after that, how the episode ends is that you see Juji and Chozo about to be like frozen again by the ice person, the curse manipulator person. And who comes to save the day? Our girl Yuki, which, if you guys don't remember, she was the girl that was in the Heaven Inventory arc earlier on, where we see the Gojo's past and Geto's past. She was the other special grade, the only, you know, the third special grade amongst Gojo, Geto, and herself. And she shows up, and she's like, hey, let me ask you again, Geto, how do you like your women? And, you know, you see Kenjaku smiling like, yes, Yuki. And that's how the episode ends. So it was great to see a girl, Yuki. You know, she's awesome, very cool character. So I can't wait to see how at the end, you know, you anime only get to experience her later in the story, because she's an awesome character. I think she's an awesome character. But yeah, I thought this week's episode was phenomenal, and I can't wait to see the season finale, which should be airing next week, because I think that so far this season has been fantastic. And I think that You know, the animators have been absolutely killing it, and I can't wait to see how they finish, you know, the last episode. But with all that being said, what did you guys think about this week's episode? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys thought it was alright? Whatever you guys thought, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more Jujutsu Kaisen, as well as more anime and manga content in the near future. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.